Maths 2017 exam on algebra. This is the profit video. You want to have the data sheet available as we do this so that you can refer to it as you need it. Right, first of all, we're just going to get a feel for the problem. Okay, so what's actually happening here is that Patrick has got some production costs for making the shoes, so he's going to, if he doesn't make enough money, he's actually going to make a loss, and then he's selling them and hoping to make sufficient sales to do well enough in his sales so that he makes a profit. Now, if he puts his sale price, the unit price is how much he's selling each pair of shoes for, if he puts it too low, what's going to happen then is that although he's going to sell a lot of shoes, he's not going to make much money on them, and so he's going to end up making a loss. If, on the other hand, he sells them for a reasonable price, then what's likely to happen then is he sells a reasonable number at a reasonable price, and he hopes that his sales, the money he gets in from his sales, his income, exceeds his production costs, and then he's going to make a profit. If, on the other hand, he puts his price too high, what's going to happen is he doesn't sell very many. If he doesn't sell very many, he's not going to have much of an income. So again, he could even end up with a loss. Okay, we're looking at some key points, A, B, C, and D. What do each of these represent? Well, point A, you should be able to see is where his profit, which is the Y number, is at its highest point. And so this is saying that the profit, the 800 for Y coordinate, that's his maximum profit. Okay, so the £800 is his maximum profit because that's as high as the curve goes. The 25 is the X value, the unit price, which is producing that profit. So the £25 is the unit price which produces the maximum profit. So if it's saying that if he sells each pair of shoes for £25, that way he gets the maximum profit, which is £800. B and C. Now, if you look at B and C, you'll see that the Y coordinates are both 0. It's up there on the X-axis. The Y coordinates are the profit, but profit 0 in each case. So this is where he's actually selling them at a price where he's just breaking even. So basically, if he sells them for £5 each, what's happening, he's selling them at a low price, and he's just covering his costs. He's not making any profit or any loss. If he sells them for £45 each, the same thing happens, because if it's £45, he's probably not selling very many. So again, he covers his costs, but he doesn't actually make a profit. So if the unit price is £5 or £45, then no profit or loss is made, and these are called break-even prices. Okay, let's look at D. Now at D, that's where the X coordinate is 0. In other words, his unit price is 0, so he's giving them away for free. Now, if he's giving them away for free, his income is going to be 0. And so what you're left with is his production costs. So that means that at D, he's making a profit of minus £450, so his production costs must be 450. And that means that if he gives everything away for free, he's left with a loss of 450. That minus 450 is representing a loss of 450. Okay, let's look at some more detailed questions. Firstly, we're given a graph and we're told the equation is y equals 840 minus 2.5 x minus 24 squared. Now this is known as the completed square form, where you get an equation where you've got a square here. Now where it's really useful, and you'll have seen this before, is that if you have it in this form, is that these two numbers here give you the vertex, give you the top point on the graph when you've got a quadratic graph. So what we can look at, and you can see it here, if we have a look at that top point, do you see that the x coordinate is going to be somewhere in the 20s, and that the y coordinate is going to be something in the 800s? So our coordinate here of our vertex, the first thing we'll do is we have a look at that. Our vertex, okay, is going to be the point 24, 840. So whatever you have x minus, then that number that you're taking away from the x goes there. That's going to be the x coordinate of the vertex. And the number that's outside here on its own, the 840, that is going to be the y coordinate of the vertex. Now the advantage with that is, as we've just seen, is that these numbers are giving me the maximum profit and the unit price that produces them. So having got those, I can say the maximum profit is £840 and the unit price that produces the maximum profit in this case is £24. Next question. What profit is made if they're sold for £17? £17. Well, we can't really read that off the graph very well. And anyway, we want to be more accurate. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our equation. Okay. Okay, let's go mode 1. And what we do is we type into this the actual equation there. 840 minus 2.5 open brackets x minus 24 squared. And let's check that looks the same as that. Okay, so that is our equation. Now, if I am told that x is 17, okay, each pair of shoes is sold for 17, what they sell for is a unit price 17, all I have to do is do calc 17 equals s to t, and that turns it into a decimal, 717.5, which in money is £717.50. You need to write it as £717.50, not just 717.5. Now another way to do it, if you didn't want to do it using the calc button, is you can just replace the x there that I've typed in. Instead of putting the x there, I could have put 17. And it still works as well. Where the x was, I put 17 equals, do you see I get the same answer, £717.50. Okay, right, so that's answered the first bit. Now what we have to do is we need to rearrange this equation into a different form, okay? Now this is quite tricky, so what we're going to do is we're going to do it on the next page. We're going to start with that equation, and we want to turn it into something like that. So we start with y equals 840 minus 2.5 x minus 24 squared. Y equals 840 minus 2.5 x minus 24 squared. Now, if I want to turn this into this type of form here, I'm going to do it in steps because that makes it easier. So I'm not going to look at the whole thing. I'm going to start just by looking at the x minus 24 squared. X minus 24 squared. Squared is times itself. X minus 24 times x minus 24. Okay, what we get, x times x, x squared, minus 24 times x, minus 24x. Then that minus 24 times x, so another minus 24x, and then the final bit is minus 24 times another minus 24. So if I do minus 24 times another minus 24, minus times a minus is a plus, I get plus 576. That's how I got that. So this expands to x squared minus 24x minus 24x plus 576. I can gather the two minus 24x's together into a minus 48x, so I get x squared minus 48x plus 576. That's what that comes to. However, I want 2.5 lots of that. I could work out minus 2.5 lots of it, but I'm just going to do it first, just 2.5 lots of it. So I do 2.5 lots of x minus 24 squared. Well, it's going to be 2.5 times this. 2.5 times x squared, 2.5 times minus 48x, well 2.5 times minus 48, you can check if you like on your calculator, comes to minus 120x, and 2.5 times 576, I'll actually do that one, okay, 2.5 times 576 equals 1,440, so that's coming to 1,440, so all I've done is multiply everything by 2.5. Now, the final thing is I want y is 840 minus this. So I want 840 minus all of that. 840 minus it all. Let's see it. Okay, you get minus 2.5x squared. You get minus times minus, which makes plus 120x, minus times minus plus 120x. And 840 take away 1,440 gives you minus 600. So that means that putting it in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, I want y is minus 2.5x squared plus 120x minus 600. Now I can use this well for the next two questions. It says, write an inequality for the unit price if he makes a profit. Well, for him to make a profit, the profit is the y value. So to make a profit, the y value must be more than 0. I want more than 0 here. Okay, if it's less than 0, I made a loss. So let's have a look at it. To work it out, let's put the y value, let's put it equal to 0. Let's find the break-even values, the points where the break-even prices where you're getting no profit, no loss. So I put the y equal to 0. Now to solve this, I can solve this on my calculator, and I use what's in here as the equation mode, which is mode 5. So I go mode 5, which is equation. It's a quadratic x squared, so I want 3. Mode 5, then 3. And then I go A, B, C. A is the x squared number, B is the x number, C is the number on its own. So A is minus 2.5 equals B is 120. C is minus 600. Notice I need the signs. Minus 2.5, 120, minus 600. Now if I press the equals again twice, I'm going to get the two values where I've got my break-even values, the two places where the x-axis is cut. So let's place it first time equals. Look at something horrible. Let's press S to D to turn it into a decimal. So one price is if I sell it for £42.33, then that means no profit, no loss. That's a break-even point, £42.33. The other one is going to be, again, S to D, £5.67. So £42.33 or £5.67, they are what is known as the break-even values. Okay, now if I look back at the graph, what it's saying is that's £5.67, that's £42.33. I make a profit, or Patrick makes a profit, if he sells the shoes anything in between those prices. If he sells them at those prices, he breaks even. If he sells for less than £5.67 or more than £42.33, he makes a loss. So I want to be in between the two. Okay, so what we got, we just worked it out here, and we said it was £42.33 or £5.67. We want to be in between it, and the way you show you're in between it is you have £5.67 is less than x, is less than £42.33. That means the x is in between those values. Right, next, what if he makes a profit of £200? What could the unit price be? Well, if he makes a profit of 200, then what happens is here, you want the y to be 200. So all we do is we take the same equation here, minus 2.5x squared plus 120x minus 600, but I want a profit of 200, so I put equals 200. If it had been a loss of 200, I'd have put a minus 200 there. So you could be asked for a loss, and then you'd have to put a minus 200. Now, notice, we want to use that same method as before because it's so quick. You can only use that method on the calculator if you've got ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So I need a 0 here. So what I do is I take that 200 away from there, and I then get minus 2.5x squared plus 120x minus 600 minus another 200 is minus 800. Okay, minus 800 to get equals 0, because what I'm doing there is I'm doing minus 600, take away another 200. Now, back to my calculator. I want to still leave it as minus 2.5 there. Okay, oh, actually, let's put it in minus 2.5. I want that as my A. My B I still want as my 120, but my C, instead of minus 600, I want as minus 800. Press my that equals twice. £40, £8. So what it's saying is x could be £40 or £8, and I will make, or Patrick will make, £200 profit. Okay, and if we have a look at it, £200 profit, there's the £8, and there you can read it off as £40. Those are the two possibilities that give him a £200 profit. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Now, This is a different model. The thing with quadratic equations is they can give it to you in different ways. Now, we started with a completed the square form, and then we turned it into an expanded form. This is what's known as the factorized form. So we've got still a quadratic equation. You can see that it looks like a quadratic graph, but a different way of writing it down. And I'm looking at it for x between 0 and 58. That's what this 0 less than equal x less than equal to 58 means. Right. What unit price produces neither a profit nor a loss? In other words, I want these two values here. That's for two break-even points, okay? Now, if we want that, we want the y to be 0. Along the x-axis, y is 0. Now, there's an interesting thing here if you're multiplying numbers. If you multiply some numbers and you end up with 0, one of the numbers must be 0. Okay, so one of these things is 0. Well, 1.6 isn't 0, so that doesn't work. But if I had x as 51, do you see that would come to 0? 51 minus 51 is 0. So that would work. If I put x equals 7 in here, x minus 7, well, if 7 minus 7 is 0, so that will also work. 7, 51. So what I'm doing is I'm choosing my values of x to make the y 0. If I put in x equals 51, I get 1.6 times 0 times something. Well, that will come to 0. If I put in 7, I get 1.6 times something times 0. And it doesn't matter what the other things are. If I'm multiplying by a 0, I end up with 0. So my two break-even points are given by putting 51 minus x equals 0, in other words, x is 51, or x minus 7 is 0, that means x is 7. So, what unit prices produce neither a profit nor a loss? £7 or £51. They're the two cases. Now, what produces a maximum profit? We want to be here. We want to know what value comes here. Now, what we can do is we can use the symmetry of the graph, because a quadratic graph has a line of symmetry. So we want to find the value that's halfway in between 7 and 51. So the mid value of 7 and 51, the way you do it is you add for 7 and 51 and then divide by 2. So if I do mode 1, back to mode 1, 7 add 51 equals, then, oops, I typed in the wrong thing, 7 add 51 equals, then divide by 2, 29. So £29 is the unit price, okay, that's going to be there on our vertex. £29 is your mid value. Now, I also want to find what the profit is. It's going to be just below 800, isn't it? Now, to do that, I say I want to put x equals 29 into this. Okay, so if I put x equals 29 in here, then that's going to work. So if I go to my equation, let's type it in. I type in my equation, 1.6, open that, 51 minus, well, I could put 29, but I prefer to just leave it as x, open again, and another x minus 7, check it's identical to that, and just do calc 29 equals, and I get £774.40. £774.40. So that's telling me my vertex is at 29,774.4. It tells me that the maximum profit I can make is £774.40, and that happens when the unit price is £29. Okay, now sometimes you've had to type this in and you've actually put it in a table, and you've done a table of results. You can actually get a lot of this information from the calculator also in tables mode. So if I went to mode 7, tables, if I actually put in my thing there, 1.6, open the bracket, 51 minus x, close the brackets, and then in here put in my x, take away 7, close the brackets. So I've got my equation in there. If, let's say, I wanted to start at 0, okay, well, I want to be starting at ending at about 58. Okay, let's actually end at around, okay, I'm going to do it around 58, okay, and let's go up in about, I don't know, about 4s. Here's my table. Okay, and you see it's showing the position at each point. I'm showing me the profit at each value there. Now, if you actually look at this, I can say, well, if instead of going up in that, I went up there in 4s, and I went from 0 up to 50, up to 58, what if instead I go back to that, still do equals, but what if I start at 0, go up to 10, say, and go up in 1s? Do you see now I can find where the profit is 0? There it is, the profit is 0 at £7. And I could have done the same thing by looking between 50 and 60. Okay, so if I do this, and this time start at 50, sorry, end at 58 I should do, end at 58, go up in 1s. Do you see again, 51, 0, that's given me that one. If I want the maximum value, I know it's somewhere around the 30s, so how about looking between 25 and 35? So AC, let's do this one, equals, let's start at 25, and let's end at 35. Let's again go up in 1s. And you see, you should be getting a symmetry over here, 248.8, sorry, 748.8, 760, 768, 772.8, 774.4, and now down to 772.8. Do you see the symmetry there? And then it should be down to 768. You see that's the same as that one, 768. So we look for the highest point, it was there, 774.4, £774.40. So you can use table mode instead if you want to in order to work it out. Okay, let's go back to mode 1. Okay, that's that one done. Next bit. Okay, so we found what is maximum profit. Next part, part D, what's his production cost? Well, the production costs are the loss he makes when he sells it for nothing at all. In other words, when his X value is 0. Okay, so all I do is go to my equation there. Sorry, I've already cleared the equation, that's a pity. I need to put it in again. 1.6, 51 minus x, close the brackets, open it up again, x minus 7, close the brackets, check that I've got the right thing. All I need is calc 0. So that means unit price 0, and that means I'm told minus 571.2. When x is 0, y is minus £571.20. Well, if x is 0, he's getting nothing from his sales, so his production costs must be £571.20, because that's going to be the same as the loss he makes in that situation. Now, same as before, I'm afraid, we're going to have to turn this into the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So, let's go across. We start with it as it was, 1.6, 51 minus x, x minus 7. Just like before, let's do it in steps. Start with 51 minus x, x minus 7, multiply them out, 51x. 51 times minus 7, take my word for it, it's minus 357, you can check on a calculator. Okay, minus x times x, minus x squared. Minus x times minus 7 plus 7x. Gather them together. 51x plus 7x is 58x. So you've got 58x minus 357 minus x squared. If I want it in order, I do minus x squared, then the plus the 58x, then the minus 357. Multiply everything by 1.6. So now all I do is I multiply these by 1.6. I get 1.6 times minus x squared is minus 1.6x squared. 1.6 times 58. Let's check that because that looks quite hard. 1.6 times 58 is 92.8x. And then the last one was 1.6 times minus 357. So instead, let's do 357, 1.6 times, oh, I should have said times minus that, equals, okay, minus 571.2. Okay, so that becomes our equation in expanded form. Find his loss when his unit point is 58. Okay, so we can take either of these ones here and put in x as 58. It doesn't matter which of the two equations I do. So let's do it this time. We'll do it with this equation. So we've got minus 1.6, okay, x squared, okay, plus 92.8, okay, x minus 571.2, and I'm putting x equal to 58. If I was doing y equals 58, then I'd have had to do that mode 5 thing. Because I'm putting x equals 58, I just do calc 58 equals, what do I get? Minus 571.2. I get that there. I get the same value as if I put in the x as 0. So that means the loss will be £571.20. Okay, so what's actually happening here? Why is his model inapplicable for x more than 58? Let's go back to the graph. What it's saying is this. If I look at this graph, it's saying that his production costs were £571.20. If he sells them at £58 each, he also makes a loss of £58 of £571.20. So if he gives them away for free, he makes a loss of this. And if he sells them at £58, he still makes a loss of that. Now that means he can't have sold any, because if he'd have sold some, he'd actually have reduced his loss. Okay, so basically, if you've got the same value here, what's happened here is when he's got to £58 and he advertises them, nobody wants to buy any. So if he advertises them for more than £58, he's still only going to make a loss of £571.20. It's not going to change, because if he sells them for £58 or £60 or £70, £80, it doesn't matter. He's still not selling any, and so he's left with his production costs of £571.20. So what happens there, this last bit, is when x is 58, his loss equals his production cost, so he didn't sell any shoes. If x is more than 58, he still is not going to sell any, so his loss will still be 571.20. It's not going to get any worse, it's just going to stay there. Okay, now let's work backwards. This is in the expanded form. We want to get it back into the other form, but first of all, let's try and work out some values. Okay, what unit price produces a profit of £4,995? Okay, so we want to put this equals 499. Why is 4,995 pounds? We've done some of these. Equals to that. So we take this. The profit is 4,995, and so it's just take that equation. Take away the 4,995 on this side. Notice it's going to be minus 6,480 minus another 4,995. So it's going to be minus 6,480 minus 4,995 equals minus 11. Okay, minus 11,475. There it is. And so we've got this. Let's put it in order. It's going to be minus 15x squared plus 930x minus 11,475 equals 0. Remember, get it equals 0. Then it's into your mode 5 and work it out. So this is the same as we've done before. Mode 5, 3, put in minus 15 equals 930 equals minus, well, it was that one there, 11,475 equals, hit the equals £45, £17. Okay, so if he sold it for either of those prices, okay, he is then going to make a profit of £4,995. Next question. find the break-even unit prices. So the break-even unit prices, that's where y is 0. So it's the same type of equation, but put y in as 0. So let's go back to this. Okay, so it's still going to be minus 15 for the x squared. It's still going to be plus 930 there, okay, for the, there, I didn't need a plus sign, just 930 for the x's, but now the y, the c value is minus 6480, because it's already equals naught. I don't need to put it equals naught. So my break-even values are 54 and 8. Okay, so that's telling me, okay, 54 and 8, that's £8 there, that's £54 there. Okay, so we've found our break-even prices. Next thing, put the curve in this form. Well, there's the curve. I just said the break-even values were 8 and 54. If it's in this form, you might remember that that's where for y is 0. To get y as 0 in this form, in the factorized form, I've got to make that 0 or that 0. So, if x is equal to 8, what I want is I want an 8 there for that one and a 54 there for that one. So if I just replace the s by 8 and the t by 54, see, I've got it in the right form. I now can say when x is 8, that comes to 0, so y will be 0. When x is 54, that comes to 54 minus 54 is 0, so again y is 0. So all we need to do to put it in this form is the two numbers that go here and here are the 8 and 54. Now, find the coordinates of the vertex. Well, we've done this before. It's find using symmetry. Find the mid-value of 8 and 54. 8 add 54 is 62, divide by 2 is 31. Put y equals 31 into this equation. There's our equation, or that one. It doesn't matter which equation you type it into. So you type in the equation, do calc 31, you will get 7935. So that's told us that the vertex is 31, 7935. Find the coordinates of a vertex. Okay, let's just check that last one. Okay, mode 1, what I said was I can put the equation in either form. Let's put it in the original form. 930 x minus 15 x squared minus 6420, and I said do calc 31 equals, you see, 7995, just what I want. Oh, what did I say? 7995. Oops, looks as if I made a mistake there. 7995 I should have got there. Okay, so let's pretend that's a 95. I'm not going to do the video again. Okay, so vertex is at that. Okay, write the curve in this form. Okay, that should be 7995. Okay, I did write the equation in right, didn't I? Let's just check that. Oh, I've copied the equation in wrong. Let's go back a bit. Sorry, my equation there, that's where I've made my mistake. 7935, what I wanted. Okay, so in there, type it, if I type the equation in correctly, and then I do, for that equation, what I did was calc 31, I get 7935. Good, I hadn't made a mistake at all, I just typed it in wrong. Okay, so the vertex is at 317935, and now the equation is in its completed the square form. We've seen it before. That's the number on its own, 7935. Okay, minus 15 lots, and the p number, the value there, the p number is 31, the q number is the 7935. So that's it written in the completed square form. What are the meanings of P and Q? Well, Q, okay, that number, the 7935, is your maximum profit, and P is the unit price which produces the maximum profit. The £31 for P is the unit price producing the maximum profit. Okay, now a couple of questions at the end. They are quite tricky, but we should be quite fast. First, this curve's equation y equals q minus r x minus p squared. Oh, look at all these variables. So we need a q, an r, and a p. What are we told? The maximum profit is 920, and it's achieved when the unit price is 21. So the vertex is 21,920. A unit price of £25 generates 792. So let's put it on the graph. When we sell it for £29, we're going to get £792 profit. So there's our information. Find P, Q, and R on the equation. Well, straight to the vertex. We know Q. There's Q, the 920. We know P, 21. These two numbers that go there, they are from your vertex, the maximum profit and the unit price that gives you maximum profit. Slot them in. P is 21, Q is 920, so 920 minus R, we don't know R yet, x minus 21 squared. We've used that. Let's now use the other one. When y is 792, x is 25. So all I do is I replace the y by 792 and I replace the x by 25. Y, 792, stays there. R stays there. Notice the x replaced by 25. And so we get this equation. It's an equation that's just in terms of R. We can work it out. 25 minus 21 is 4. So that part becomes 4 squared. 4 squared is 16. So that becomes, instead of minus r times 4 squared minus r times 16 minus 16r. And now you've got an equation, move this over here. 16r is 920 minus the 792. When I swap them across, I've changed their sign. So minus 16r becomes plus 16r, plus 792 becomes minus 792. 920 minus 792 is 128. And now all I do is I divide the 128 by 16 and I get R. I could have used shift solve right away from there if I wanted to. As soon as I put that in, to get R is 8. Let's just test it. We could have done shift solve. Mode 1. So we got here. We just want to find R. That's the only variable. So 792. Okay, alpha equals 920 minus, instead of r, I'm going to have to use x. Okay, so I'm going to do alpha x multiplied by 4 squared. So I've got 792 equals 920 minus, oh, I could have even done it from here, but I'm not going to change it again. I'm doing it from there. Okay, and then shift solve. Okay, solve for any value there equals, and I get x as 8. Okay, and so I put x instead of r is 8. Okay, so now let's write down our equation. So our equations finally become 920 minus 8 instead of the r, x minus 21 squared. That is my equation of that curve. Okay, one more like this. Patrick breaks even if he charges £14 or £72. His maximum profit is £9,251. Find the equation in this form here. Well, let's put down what we know. Break even. There's the break even values. It's where he makes no profit. 14.72. Here's your vertex. Now we don't know the x-coordinate of a vertex. We do know the y-coordinate is 9251. So what I'll do is I'll put a p for my x-coordinate, as I often use p and q here, and 9251 for my y. So basically, that's the information there. Write the equation in that form. Well, we can say straight away, we've seen it before. The break-even values, they go here and here. So b is 14, c is 72. Okay? So if I replace the b by 14, the c by 72, I get this. And that means what I'm saying is if x is 14, this comes to 0. And whenever I multiply anything by 0, I get 0, so no profit. If x is 72, 72 minus 72 is 0. So again, multiply them all together. Doesn't matter what a is, I will end up with 0, so no profit. So those two numbers go there. Now I need to work out the next bit. So I need to know what value of x goes with that. So I need to use symmetry. I need to find that p. By symmetry, the maximum occurs when x is halfway between the 14 and the 72. 14 out of 72 is 14 out of 72 is 86, divided by 2 is 43. So p is 43. That's 43 there. That's told me the vertex is at 43, 9, 2, 5, 1. Okay, so I want it in this form, and I know that when x is 43, y is 9, 2, 5, 1. So let's slot them in. Instead of y, 9, 2, 5, 1. Instead of x at each point, 43. There we are, for 43 is in there. I want to find a. Okay, well, I can work it out. 43, okay, take away 14. Okay, 43, take away 14. That's coming to 29. That bit comes to minus 29. So you get that is a times 29 times minus 29. 29 multiplied by minus 29 is equal to minus 841. So this is minus 841a. And so all you have to do is divide 9251 by minus 841. So I just need to do 9251 divided by, what did I say, minus 841 equals minus 11, so a is minus 11. I could here, I've done that by shift solve. If I type that lot in with an x there, did shift solve, I'd get minus 11. I'm not bothered doing it, you can check it yourself. So our equation becomes y equals, and instead of the a, I put minus 11, x minus 14, x minus 72, and I've written it in the right form. Okay, good luck in the exam.